One. All right, Dom Nicastro here, managing editor from CMSWire. We're here with, thank you, Gaby, brand new CMSWire contributor. Thank you for being interested in writing for us. You are the customer experience director at Workato. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, your first column, it's a doozy, talks about customer experience leadership. We know there are so many leaders out there that are starting in that role and, trying to make their place felt in that first year. You have some great tips to kind of motor through that. The first one I thought that was super interesting was, instead of just like telling everybody what you want to do, it's kind of like finding who is going to give you the green light on those projects. So that was pretty important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Crucial, I would say, mostly because, when you describe what customer experience does, there are very few companies out there that wouldn't want to do it. Who doesn't want to better understand what their customers need, how their customers experience a product or a service, and then adjust based on that? It's like an easy no-brainer yes. But then when you get to the point of, okay, well, how much money are you willing to invest in order to accomplish that? Yeah. That's where the conversation gets a little bit harder. Yeah. So being able to understand how a business makes those decisions and plug into that process versus trying to kind of show up and bring your own point of view without being sensitive to that can be tough.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I got so many ideas percolating, for my own team, but at the same time, you're thinking, all right, who's going to give the stamp on this, and what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get there?
Exactly.
So that's a huge part of like your first couple of months is really finding out. I mean, is it going to be my direct boss, or do I really have to go a couple levels up, to get this thumbs up? So I think it's a great way to sort of start things and just figure out the who in the organization. Another point you talk about is, you're not just selling your customer experience programs for what they can do for customers. You're selling it for what they can do for the business leaders and employees, and kind of ties together employee experience with customer experience. So, maybe you can give me an example of what that looks like. Like, hey, I have a great CX program. This is how it's going to affect your job. Anything top of mind for you with that in terms of examples?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have, in the context of what we're really focused on at Workato, plenty of examples around that. We are a high growing SaaS business. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of new customers, a lot of new processes. So we have a lot of business leaders that are doing things with a new team, in some cases for the first time for this company. And when we talk about customer experience and employee experience, it's really about, I think, connecting that data in a context that's really important or timely for that leader. So for example, we just rolled out a brand new process for how we do value realization during the customer lifecycle. And there's a really specific set of things that our CSM team is focused on delivering for our customers. And instead of talking about customer experience generally to our customer success leadership, we're plugging it right into that plan. They already have a process for how they're going to talk about value. Well, let's ask about that experience using exactly that process, using exactly those words, using exactly those outcomes as our North Star. And so then when we get the feedback, it's really easy to operationalize, right? It's like, yes, you had a plan, your teams are executing on that plan. Now you're getting feedback specifically related to that plan. And it's making what you were already doing just that much easier or more powerful, rather than some kind of abstract research topic that isn't really connected to the operationalization of that team today. So it's all about just like being relevant, right? At the end of the day, customer experience isn't really valuable unless the front line is executing on our findings, right? If I tell you how to improve the customer experience, but you don't do anything different, then there's no impact. So what's the easiest way for me to get you to do something different? It's to talk in your language. It's to talk in what you care about. So again, just being really connected to how the business already operates right off the bat helps you honestly get credibility, so that when you want them to operate a little differently, you're starting from a place of trust, you're starting from a place of support, you're starting from a place of being on the same team. And then, you can kind of push the envelope a little more.
Yeah, you look back at like different bosses and different teams you worked under, and you think, who made things fun, who made it easy, who made it
Mhm.
better for me so I can make things better for the customers. And that's such a great point to tie employee experience into customer experience. We're watching that super closely, at CMSWire, those connecting those two and how they kind of weave together.
Mhm.
The other thing you mentioned was, when you do get the support, don't just write the check and cover the balance right away, kind of show restraint, as you put it. So that's an important thing too, you think, huh?
Well, definitely in my context, it's crucial,
Yeah.
with a high growth private company, we watch how we spend, right? I think all companies do, but you might be in a different circumstance depending on
Yeah.
what brand you work for. But I think, at the end of the day, showing restraint, what it really translates into is business acumen, right? When you're the CEO of a company and you're looking at where are you putting investments and what kinds of returns are you getting, part of that calculus is, do I think that this part of the organization is going to spend this money wisely?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of ask yourself as a CX professional, how can I create a reputation where people trust that I'm going to be spending my resources wisely? And maybe you can still spend a bunch right off the bat and get that reputation. I'm sure it's possible. The way it's worked for me is to have a really, really solid backlog first, to talk about potential value, but then to explain to people, if I had resources, this is what I would do. And only when they're just like clamoring for it, yes, please, please, then I go out and I spend that money. And I find that usually is, they're ready for impact. They're ready to understand why we made that investment. And I think it makes the organization more trusting to give more resources to the CX team. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Gaby Moran, you're in a great position as a director of customer experience at a big company, and we want to hear more from you. This isn't it. This isn't a one-off. We're putting you on the spot here. We want to have you as a regular contributor talking about all things CX leadership, CX metrics, CX. So I'm not going to speak for you. What kind of things are top of mind for you, and maybe our readers can expect down the road?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm super excited to share our CX journey at Workato with the broader community and what we learn and what we struggle with too, what isn't working, and hear from others on how they've tackled those issues. For us, a huge point of innovation, hopefully, is how do we make CX something that is easier to action on, more practical. As CX professionals, we spend so much time operationalizing, like, how do we know people's first names? How do we
Yeah.
get frontline employees to really close the loop timely? It's all about the processes, and that takes so much effort and energy right now. How can we tackle that data problem, that process problem, with new technology in innovative ways, but that are really, really practical and make CX easy, fun, and impactful to do? So we'll be testing a lot of new things and sharing what we find and where we find success as we go along.
Well, our community is going to be super appreciative of that. Our CX leaders who are watching the website, cmswire.com. Gaby Moran of Workato, thanks so much for joining us. You got a busy week right there with your customer conference over there. So back to it, okay?
Thank you, Dom. Very
Thanks for
nice. Thank
joining
you.
us.
See you soon.
Bye now.
Bye.